Hello, everyone. Our team will bring a presentation about fraud prevention knowledge. With the development of technology, complication of the social environment and people's life, frauds are common in our life. The state and government departments organize the relevant public and education activities in the face of the new social environment and how people, by improving the self-awareness and reduces the chances of deceit, is very important. Especially the relatively vulnerable groups should be popularized relative knowledge. This video introduces related fraud and fraud prevention knowledge points from three modules of new fraud prevention knowledge in the background of the epidemic, telecommunications fraud prevention strategies, and fraud prevention knowledge for the elderly people, hoping that more people can understand the knowledge and promote a more harmonious and beautiful society. Now, let's go to the first module, how to prevent the fraud related to the pandemic. So in this section, we're gonna have three subsections. The first is about background of this, and the second is about the fraud related to the pandemic, and the third is about how to prevent the fraud related to the pandemic. So let's go to the background. So the background, there are changes in our life. Since the pandemic started, devices and apps have been integral tools for school, work, shopping, and even staying connected with friends and family. All aspects of life have become a little bit more digital. Even elderly people need to learn how to use digital cell phone. Unfortunately, crime adapted as well. According to recent Trend Micro survey, 88% of businesses accelerated their cloud migration last year, and digital transformation plans were pushed forward in response to the pandemic. After all types of occupational fraud climbed in 2020, about 90% of certified fraud examiners foresee further increases in 2021, according to a recent survey. And there are also changes in our working. The sudden shift to remote offices means that many employees are now working in a less secure environment. With a dramatic increase in electronic communications, remote workers who are unhappy or unfamiliar with the approved telework solutions may install their own software or make greater use of personal devices for business purposes, increasing the security risks. And here we can see the statistical data about the fraud and anti-fraud. The pandemic has increased the risk of fraud. 51% of organizations have uncovered more fraud since the onset of the pandemic. 71% expect the level of fraud impacting their organizations to increase over the next year. 38% of organizations increased their budget for anti-fraud technology for fiscal year 2021, making this the most common area for increased investment within an anti-fraud program. And more than 80% of organizations have already implemented one or more changes to their anti-fraud programs in response to the pandemic. So let's move on to the second part, fraud related to the pandemic. So we can see, about the fraud related to the pandemic, first one, invest in the production of COVID-19 vaccine and fraud transfer money. The investment in the production of COVID-19 vaccine can make a lot of money and induce the victims to make investment and transfer money on the platforms and apps provided by them. Second, there can be extra payment, and this can quickly take COVID-19 test results. Advertisement such as quick COVID-19 nucleic test results fastest half an hour can also do quick COVID-19 nucleic acid test at home. These are very common in our life now. And also there are more, like selling miracle medicine for COVID-19 treatment. They're claiming that there is something abnormal in your test report and you may be infected with COVID-19. Now, there is a miracle medicine that you can take every day just to recover your health. And fourth, fraud messages and emails links to phishing websites. They will be sending, make an appointment for vaccination, nucleic acid test in 3 hours, and accidental arrival, which are actually messages containing links to the phishing website. And there can also be the scam messages or emails. The scam message links to this website, which asks for the personal details. And also there will be scam COVID-19 vaccine SMS, scam COVID-19 testing themed SMS phishing campaign, and others like economic stimulus payment phishing email, and also bank themed SMS phishing campaign. And other than that, there are still a few more types. The fifth, be aware of donation fraud. This can be posed by the Red Cross, civil affairs departments, infected people, or in the name of their relatives, send false messages to the masses offering love using compassion fraud. Sixth, the use of epidemic prevention materials fraud, claim to have a large number of masks, alcohol, and other items, and claim to be limited in quantity and out of stock, etc., to fraud business and people in need of masks for personal information and money. Seventh, be alert to the message of compensation for cancellation and change. Flight canceled due to epidemic control and compensation for cancellation and change, and obtained personal information such as bank account, password, and verification code. Eighth, vigilance against a specific drug fraud. Promote the so-called epidemic prevention of health products and epidemic prevention of Chinese herbal medicine, defrauding the masses of money. Let's move on to the part 3, how to prevent the fraud related to the pandemic. So there are a few ways. Get the latest information on the epidemic through official channels. Be aware of unsolicited requests for Medicare information. Do not believe strangers' so-called foreign purchasing agents, special channels of supply, and other information. Do not click on websites from strange numbers. If you change airline tickets or refund, you need to check with the official customer service. And also, there are a few more tips. Please always check the recipient's information beforehand or to check the official contact numbers and information. Be on the lookout for COVID-19 vaccine fraud schemes. Never share your personal or health information with anyone other than knowing and trusted medical professionals. Be cautious of unsolicited healthcare fraud schemes through emails, phone calls, or in-person contact. The governments have medical professionals and scientists working hard to find a cure, approved treatment, and vaccine for COVID-19. Be on the lookout for an increase in cryptocurrency fraud schemes, including but not limited to blackmail attempts, work-from-home scams, paying for non-existent treatments or equipment, or investment scams. Avoid scams related to monetary payments related to COVID-19. And this is the reference we used in the section for the fraud related to COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for the first part. Then let's move on to the second part, which is about telecommunication fraud. Be aware of new types of cybercrime. In this section, there will be 4 subsections. The first, what is telecommunications fraud? Second, evolution of telecommunication fraud under the new situation. Third, common fraud techniques and preventive measures, and last but not least, preventions of telecommunication fraud. The first part, what is the telecommunication fraud? Telecommunication fraud refers to the act of defrauding a large amount of public and private property for the purpose of illegal possession by using mobile phone, short message, telephone, internet, and other media to fabricate facts or conceal the truth. There can be QQ fraud, parcel fraud, forcing winning, fraud by pretending to be acquaintances, air ticket changes, direct remittance, fraud phone, network fraud, credit card consumption, and low price shopping. And let's see the evolution of telecommunication fraud under the new situation. Since October 2020, the Ministry of Public Security, together with the People's Bank of China, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, the Supreme People's Procuratorate, and Supreme People's Court and other departments have jointly deployed a national broken card operation to crack down on illegal opening and trafficking of telephone cards and bank cards, and has smashed 7,816 two-card illegal and criminal gangs and arrested 148,000 suspects involved in the two-card violations, causing serious damage to telecommunications network fraud criminals. At present, there is a card shortage in the black market. Some transfer gangs have to take risks and rush to withdraw cash, reducing the concealment of crimes. The number of telecommunications network fraud cases filed in some places also showed a downward trend for 2 consecutive months. And the third part, common fraud techniques. So there are some common fraud techniques. The first one, scanning the QR code to implant charges for fraud. Scan the 2-dimensional code and receive the shopping red envelope. The criminal entered the website containing with the Trojan virus or downloaded the app containing the Trojan virus by inducing the owner to scan the 2-dimensional code. Criminals intercept mobile phone text messages through Trojan horses, changing the Alipay password and steal the balance in Alipay. Second, use the renumber change software to impersonate the public prosecutor's office and other organs for fraud. Other grounds of court summonses, information leakage and involvement in money laundering, such as telecommunications fraud cases using recounting software to disguise the office phones of political and legal organs and impersonate the policemen, prosecutors, and judges to commit fraud. Third, WeChat scams. Scams by impersonating relatives or friends after using a Trojan horse program to steal at the other party's QQ password, intercept the other party's chat video data, interpret the owner of the QQ account to carry out a fraud on his relatives, friends, or friends in the name of a serious EU, car accident, and other urgent matters. Scam by impersonating the company's boss. Criminals search the QQ group of the financial personnel, send Trojan virus with accounting qualification examination syllabus documents as bait, steal the QQ number used by the financial personnel, and analyze the judge the QQ number of the boss of the financial personnel, and then impersonate the company boss to send transfer remittance instructions to the financial personnel. Fourth, fraudulent fraud by impersonating the staff of banks or other financial institutions. Criminals fraudulently use the name and the trademark logo of banks or other financial institutions to publish false information through social network channels such as the internet, WeChat, QQ, etc. Claim to be the staff of banks or other financial institutions to contact customers. Claim to be able to provide loans, credit cards, debit cards, and other services of bank and other financial institutions, and induces others to pay them service fees, security deposits, association funds, commissions, card deposits, intermediary service fees, or any other fees under similar names. Fifth, counterfeit online banking upgrades, real name supplemental recording fraud. Criminals use bank numbers to send information about expired ciphers and real name supplements and provide false links to websites. When a cardholder believes that he really logs onto the website and enters the relevant ID card, online banking username, password, dynamic password, and other information, the deposit in the card will be transferred away. Now let's move on to the last but not least part, prevention of such telecommunication fraud. There are different ways. Don't give anyone the verification code. The phone doesn't show the number, then we just don't answer. Some numbers can be answered, but they can be called. Money can be received, but not out. Be aware of phishing websites. Don't trust strange evidence, and pay attention to new things. Last but not least, call the police if you're not sure. And here we have a brief summary of how to prevent these scams. First, those who claim to be required to send money by the public prosecutor's office, these are scam. Second, anyone who asks you to send money to the secure account, scam. Anyone who notifies you of winning the lottery or receiving the prize requests you to pay the money first, scam. Anyone who notifies the family that has something is wrong must be remitted first, scam. Anyone who asks bank card information and verification code on the phone, scam. Anyone who lets you open online banking is subjected to inspection, scam. Those who claim to be leaders request remittances, scam. All unfamiliar websites should register bank card information, scam. Anyone who promises to help you with various bank credit cards, scam. And anyone who uses various excuses to guide you to operate the ATM machine with the English interface scam. And this is for the second part, telecommunication fraud. Please just be aware of this new type of cybercrime. Thank you. And let's move on to the third part, elderly anti-fraud strategy. So in recent years, financial fraud, telecommunication fraud, healthcare products fraud, substitution fraud, fake fraud, friends fraud, and other phenomena for the elderly are very common. And here are some of the common ways of the elderly fraud. First is by calling the elderly mobile phone, asking elderly identity information, bank card number, storage account, etc., and then through intimidation, lure step by step to the elderly into the trap. Finally, achieve the purpose of cheating money. Fraudsters generally rendering the god doctor or master magic said that it or his family will have a disaster and must use money and goods to eliminate the disaster. Fraud gang posing as the false identity of the staff of the Chinese Collectors Association partnership to sell fake jade, fake calligraphy, and paintings to the elderly to defraud money. Fraud group arranged employees without medical qualification to feel the pulse of the elderly Chinese medicine and took the opportunity to sell basically ineffective health food at a sky-high price. And in the face of these cheaters, how should the elderly prevent? Here are some ways. First, pay more attention to the articles and programs of some legal columns, understand the current various kinds of fraud tricks, be vigilant, and strengthen the ability to identify fraud tricks. Second, to overcome greed and dispel the idea of making a lot of money with small money, eating small losses to take bigger advantage, or getting nothing. When someone lets you pay for the money, you must be more careful and cannot easily take out your money or send it out. Third, don't be too close with the strangers. When you can't make up your mind, find your children or your trusted neighbors or friends, inform them of the situation, solicit opinions, and discuss the police when you need to call the police. Also, don't bring valuables and jewelry when going out alone. Fourth, if you're you, go to the regular hospital and buy medicine at a regular drugstore. Do not blindly believe in various investments with high returns. Do not blindly believe in the publicity of the high returns and so-called company strength. Finally, we would like to share you a little video of the anti-fraud strategy for elderly people. Okay, and that is for it. Thank you for your listening.
一起来听听吧。
老年生活也烦恼，骗子专把老人找，诈骗手段实在多，听我给您慢慢说。老年理财需谨慎，正规途径才放心，管好手中血汗钱呐，非法集资要躲远，多学法律看新闻，小道消息最害人，中奖信息莫轻信，陌生来电得留心，天上不会掉馅饼，一夜暴富不是真，老人健康很重要，骗子常用这一套，生病不能乱投医，保健骗局要当心，灵丹妙药若能找啊，医院全都关门了，赠物赠药表面好，借机骗钱就要跑，杜绝封建和迷信，相信医学才是真，清朝老人很孤独，黄昏恋来找幸福，追求幸福别盲目，美丽陷阱要防住，慧眼识人看真心，药材药物得当心，花言巧语讨欢喜，钱财到手不理你，儿女也要尽孝心，陪伴父母多关心，遇到诈骗要清醒，存好证据快报警，遇人遇事不慌张，寻找家人来帮忙，提高意识很重要，远离诈骗老来安，老来安。
提高防诈骗意识，愿每一位老年人都能过一个健康幸福